Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Acanfora. Welcome back to the Health and Wellness in Bayonne show. Today, I'm with my co-host, Kathy Pacifico, and we have a wonderful guest today, Margaret Bayse. Margaret, how are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. So we're changing up the format in how we do things. We decided that we will bring guests on because I'm sure that you're not tired of Kathy and I talking, because we are so intelligent, funny, and witty. But it would be a lot of fun and great interaction to actually introduce even more wonderful assets in our community in the health and wellness world. So things that are new for us in our office, some of the things that we're doing, and we've been talking about this, is the Women's Empowerment Project. And it is actually tonight the first lecture that we're having in our office, a presentation by a essential oils expert. Her name is Dawn Sedio, and we'll have her on the show in the upcoming months. But we're going to do a couple of different things with essential oils, and the following month will be an herbalist, and after that we'll have a Reiki practitioner, so as well as folks that Kathy, you were talking about.
Yes, we have a lot of programming that we're unfolding over the next few months regarding wellness, empowerment, and just our overall, I guess, the impact that we want to have in bringing some new innovation to the club with our programming for small group training, our personal training. Every season we try to unfold something fun and exciting, and so
Absolutely.
There are some really good things that are about to unfold. And with the women's empowerment, we have a few of our key employees that have just been through some programming recently that we're going to be unleashing in the next few weeks, that have seen some extraordinary results and have found an opportunity to reinvent themselves. And we, in speaking with Margaret, which is an honor and a privilege to, have with us here today, she's had a lot of impact in the lives of many of the women and members of our club, and I appreciate you, inviting us to be on here today.
So Margaret's official title, we'll talk about her even though she's not here. What's her official title?
She is the Assistant Director of Training and Professional Development.
Wow, that is really, really awesome title.
It's an awesome job.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's an awesome job, and it's truly. I've had really only 3 jobs in my entire life since I was about 18 years old. Only 3.
Okay.
And by far and away, this is the most satisfying, personally,
Wonderful.
And the most really extraordinary. Not the least reason that it's happening at this time in my life, at this age in my life. So it's a really great opportunity, and it's a wonderful place to work and be.
So tell us about your journey. How did you get here?
Oh, gosh. Well,
start in the beginning. Don't leave anything out. Ready? Go.
Well, I was very blessed to be born into a family that valued education. That was number one.
Excellent.
I was mentored in that way by my wonderful dad, who's still living,
Awesome.
and living well. So that's a key. Also, so went to college. He wanted me to study nursing, but I learned very early on to practice that skill of listening to my own inner voice, and instead I studied economics.
Okay.
So I arrived on the college campus and marched into the business school and changed my major day one. So though he was not pleased, because he mentioned when I came home my first trip that economists are slightly better than weathermen for predicting anything accurately.
Excellent.
It turned out that that skill set that I built was valuable for life.
Wonderful.
So I started that way with my education, and then worked in finance in New York for a while.
Okay.
Then retired from that and stayed home for 7 years, raised my 2 beautiful daughters for the beginning part of their lives.
Wonderful.
Until they went to school. then went back to grad school and studied something completely different, which was historical landscape design.
So wait. Economics.
Yeah.
Historical landscape design.
Yeah.
So what Dad have to say about that?
At that point, he was happy to let me just unfold my life as I saw fit.
Fantastic.
He believed in me by then.
Wonderful.
That I was, that I had control of the rudder, so
Okay.
to speak, that I was going to guide myself the right way. And what that really led to, that was an incredibly creative kind of work. It was entrepreneurial, so it was completely on the opposite end of the spectrum from
Wonderful.
finance.
Yep.
Although it employed all of those same skills
Sure.
of just knowing what economically drives anyone to want to make a big capital investment in their property, for
Sure.
example. So
Sure.
I practiced this art form in the western suburbs of New Jersey primarily, and in New England for almost 20 years.
Okay.
And decided to step out of that profession when I was really honored by having one of my first properties acquired by a museum.
Wow.
So,
That's really impressive.
so it was mostly what it was, though I'll tell you, mostly what that time in my life did was that it reinforced this idea to work at something you love.
Okay.
And something
sure.
that works with your core values. And
Yes.
my highest goal was to raise my children well once I had them.
Wonderful.
So I worked from home for all the time that they were home before they went to college, and in my younger one's case, before she went off to boarding high school.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So and after that, I decided to take a step out of my professional life and take some time to myself and figure out what I wanted to do 10 years from then.
Excellent.
And I came up with that I'd like to be a university professor.
Awesome.
So that will involve getting an advanced degree, a terminal degree, a
Yep.
PhD. And I wanted to have that be in something that was incredibly interesting to me. So I sat and had a long talk with myself that took about a year.
Wow. Okay.
And a lot of that talking went on while I had my headphones on while I was working out. You
Excellent.
see, because I decided to sort of tie together things that I had always loved doing personally with what I wanted to do professionally. So
Awesome.
I decided that I wanted to explore this notion of how physical fitness sort of underpins social wellness.
Brilliant.
And so I put those two things together and decided to become a certified personal trainer and actually work in a population where I could really see that,
Yes.
how that happened or
Sure.
didn't happen.
Sure.
And it kind of turned out spontaneously that I came here to visit a friend in New York, was staying with a high school friend from Jersey City and needed a gym where I needed to work out. And someone said, you should try the Forum in Bayonne. It's a really cool place. And I went down there and I thought, oh my word, this is really an amazing place. This is the perfect place for me to figure all this out.
Yep.
And so I became a member, and this was back in like the fall of 2012, I think, or the fall of 2011.
No, 2011.
Fall of 2011, I
Okay.
became a member. And then I disappeared for a few months, went back to New England, and studied some more, got certified, and came back in March of 2012, and I asked Kathy to hire me.
Excellent.
Audaciously.
Because of your shy and demureness that we can see is shining through.
Exactly.
And quite funny, I remember getting an email, because we send out a profile when somebody sends in an interest that they want to be a part of our team. We send out an email that's a profile about that person, just to see how they respond.
Sure.
What
Oh, brother, what did I write?
it was probably 3 pages. So I never forget. I'm in bed. It's 5 in the morning. I'm like, okay, let me just check out this profile. Usually it's 5 or 6 questions, and people
Right.
write a couple of things. It was pages about life and her aspirations, and I'm like,
Very
this
nice.
is a pretty interesting woman. She knows that
And you're hired.
I think the enjoyment of knowing that she was very articulate in what she wanted.
Sure.
She had a lot of clarity.
Yes.
And I think that she was in a position to reinvent herself.
Yes.
And one of the things in empowerment is being able to look at your story, where you've been, and either expand on it.
Yes.
Because it's not what it is always. It's not you're in this box,
Correct.
but it's also who you can become, and how do you go back
Absolutely.
there and give yourself permission to dream again. And you know, I think our conversations about those aspirations and being in the industry, and she has stepped up to a plate, which I truly honor, with regards to the amount of people that she's tapped into and the lives that she's touched in such a short period of time of being in the actual fitness and wellness industry.
Right.
I mean, in as little as probably 15 months, she had made a very strong name for herself, where it takes some people their whole career
Yes.
to maybe think about doing that. So I value your work ethic and your clarity and your tenacity of knowing what you want.
So that clarity is what separates people. And that you could, at this time in your life, look at this, and with that clarity you dive into it. But it's not a shotgun approach to it. It's really being a sniper. And you nailed it.
That was perfect
Yeah.
word for her.
Well, it's again, it's interesting that and I so appreciate that I'm here within the context of a conversation about women's empowerment, because when I think about the essence of how I probably began to even develop those kinds of skills, to have clarity, to have courage,
Yes.
to envision change, and so forth, had to be really, the beginnings of that had to come from literally from my great grandmother,
Okay.
who was probably one of the best role models
Awesome.
of an empowered woman.
Yep.
And let's see, she was 16 in 1908, so whatever that, she was born before the turn of the 2 centuries ago.
Yep.
And so she was probably one of the best examples of an empowered woman that
Sure.
I've ever met.
Yes.
And my skill sets, I hung out with her a lot when I was a little kid.
Yep.
I was lucky. So it does take a bit of, and again, that's the listening to that voice inside and believing that you can do what you envision.
Yep. So were you always that way? Did you always listen to that inner voice?
It's very interesting. That's a very interesting question, because I think that I'd have to say, when I was young, you know, the family dynamic, the times, everything probably would have suggested that I was stubborn.
Okay.
But perhaps that stuff that would have been called stubborn back in those days were examples of that.
Yes.
Like, for example, changing my major to economics.
Right.
Just sort of understanding somehow intuitively that if I was an economist, and I changed my major to that when I went to undergraduate school, because I just far more enjoyed reading the Wilson Quarterly than I did in looking at a biology book at that time.
Right.
It just was kind of apples and oranges for me.
And your undergraduate degree was from that little school up north. What was that?
No. That was from actually the University of North Carolina. That's where
was
I went
North-
to college.
okay.
Yeah. My youngest daughter went to high school in New England.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So you went to UNC.
Yes.
Very nice. A prestigious institution. Yes. So you decided at that age that biology was not it.
It was not it for me.
Wasn't it for you. Didn't speak to you.
Well, I didn't really like the sight of blood either. It wasn't really that biology wasn't for me. I just didn't like the sight of blood, to be
Okay.
honest. It was really no more complicated than that. And I liked reading the Wilson Quarterly.
There you go.
And my father was a tremendous influence. And even though it sort of reverse engineered itself on him at that time,
Sure.
I think at the end of the day he was pretty happy about how things turned out. But he had a really, a very fine career, and it had a lot to do with government and finance and different things
Sure.
like that. So, you know, he was influencing me every day.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So tell me, in how have you tied this all together? Tell me about some of the success stories that you've seen in the 15 months that we're talking about.
Oh, gosh.
Because that's what people love. People love to hear. They've heard about Kathy's story. They know my story, and they heard a little bit about your story. But tell them about the people that you've worked with and the success that they've had.
Well, backing up just a half a step before I answer that question,
Sure.
the reason that Kathy and Pete's club here in Bayonne was jumped out at me as such a perfect place for me
Yep.
is the size, the location, geographically, the diversity of the population
Sure.
in every way.
Yes. Absolutely.
So the people that I've had occasion to work with are from such a diverse group: male, female, young, middle-aged, elderly, all manners of education from one end of the spectrum
Sure.
to the other, racially, etc.
Yep.
Illnesses, athletes.
Yep.
So it's been an incredible opportunity to experience working one-on-one with this really diverse group.
Absolutely.
So that's first and foremost. And I think that what I have discovered is that there are certain fundamental truths. People who are successful at what they say are their goals,
Yep.
first, believe that they deserve to achieve them.
Okay.
And second, they are open-minded and disciplined about taking the action steps that are recommended to them that will influence the parts of their lives that need to change, whether it's to lose weight or gain strength or build muscle
Sure.
or intervene on a disease. They are willing to set aside habits that they may have developed over a long period of time through their culture, through a lack of education, through just sheer force of habit or kind of being a little lazy and undisciplined. They're willing to set all that aside and do things differently. It takes effort, and so the people that I have worked with universally who are successful are willing to do those things. Yep.
Fascinating. I mean, that's it. You nailed it. So,
And there have been lots of them. Again, young, old, women, men.
But I think
lots
it's
of
the opportunity also to be able to, when we, I guess, invite the new enrollments into the facility and they have an opportunity to speak with a professional and think again. I think that people are caught up in life.
yes.
You know, and when they make a decision to come in and like something has happened for them to come in, how do we take them by the hand and walk them through the process to reinvent themselves or to find that desire? Because you can have the right actions, you know what you need to do, you have the best intentions to do those things, and if you don't have the right plan and you know the right structure to do that and the right environment, a lot of social influence.
Yes.
You know, we like to say that within the environment of the club we're in a bubble, but we want to help build that outside.
And then the other key thing that Kathy, I'm sure didn't omit intentionally, but it's the motivation. We provide the motivation also for the individuals because they need all of this in order to, it's like alchemy, you know, it's just like this really interesting confluence of all these things that creates this change.
And that's fascinating that you say that, because that motivation, now inspiration, I believe, is internal. You are inspired. Motivation is something that you look at. I'm motivated to do this. And that motivation is leadership. And when you can lead somebody, and you're leading by example, but you're also leading them to get their life back. So life has actually gotten in the way of living.
Yes.
So they've been walking around in a fog with a shroud held over their face. And by doing exactly what you're saying, you're actually creating that ripple effect that you're talking about, Kathy. It's outside, not just in the bubble, but outside of the bubble as well.
Yeah, I think that more recently we've taken on the responsibility of helping people build that ripple effect.
Yes.
Because we can only do so much inside. We know how many times people start with that motivation
Yes.
and the good intention,
Yes.
and they lose the spark. You know,
Yes.
if they're not working and they do not have an accountability partner for, because we do need accountability.
Absolutely.
So whether it's a friend
Yep.
or a trainer, a coach, a mentor,
Yep.
we all need accountability on every
Absolutely.
level. And so unless you're, highly, highly, highly driven
Yeah.
and self-motivated,
Mm-hmm.
and there are many people out there, but we know in our country, in our world, in our community, we want to be able to tap into that motivation and sustain it.
Absolutely.
Instead of having these peaks, we talk about it often,
Yes.
up and down. I'm motivated, I'm not motivated, I'm
Yes.
losing weight, I'm healthy, I'm unhealthy.
Yes.
I'm on medication, I'm off medication. We want to sustain it
Sustainable.
and have
Right.
people in that higher health state, and to be able to get motivated and find the internal inspiration
Yes.
to stay there.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely right. That I often see myself and describe myself. I speak to my clients using a lot of metaphors. I sometimes will describe myself as a bridge.
Yes.
You know, that you need to walk over me until you get from where you are to where you are across this bridge.
Yes.
And you have this belief internally now
Yes.
that you can take this journey the rest of
So
the way.
you're Winnie the Pooh. And they're Timothy Robbins.
Exactly.
That is awesome.
Oh, dear. So some of my clients, for example, you asked about clients.
Yes.
Okay, so one young woman, for example, had a very unexpected bout of cancer when she was 29. Was very, very tiny and came to me and said, I just need to be stronger for the rest of my life. And there was a lot of fear.
Yes.
She had a lot of fear.
Yes.
And she really hadn't even begun to understand that fear.
Yep.
She just was kind of enshrouded in it.
Okay.
And through a year of exercise, building her body, physically making it bigger,
yes.
adding 125% lean mass to her, like shaping her,
Yes.
and just the amount of weight she could lift. And she became athletic for the first time in her life.
Amazing.
She was married in that year, and there was a time she started to like unfold,
Yes.
you know, and to be able to speak about her fear. And through that ability to speak about that fear, she was able to let it go,
Yep.
and now feels no longer like a prisoner of being afraid of having. She doesn't think of herself as cancer anymore. She thinks of herself as a strong, empowered person
Yes.
who, and she's also considering taking on a profession in fitness because now she's really into it.
Absolutely.
So this is just one story.
Absolutely. And those are the things that
Yeah.
we're talking about. By Kathy being smart enough to hire you.
Oh, very intelligent decision.
And a truly impactful decision that she made. And then for yourself, stepping up and providing that bridge for people. You're now, I don't want to say they're your minions, but in many cultures, you're now responsible for those actions that person has taken. So
I feel very honored. It's a
Truly,
it's
truly.
a seat of honor, really.
Absolutely. So we only have a little bit of time left because I know we were having so much fun you don't even realize the show just flies by. But one of the things that we want to start doing is when we have our prisoner on the show, tell us 3 things that people could do, women could do, to have a more successful life. Ready? Go.
Oh gosh. Okay. Listen to that inner voice.
Brilliant.
I've always had 10 women on a list from history, from my own life, that I admire. And
Awesome.
I read and know everything about them.
Wonderful.
Everyone from my great-grandmother to Queen Elizabeth I and many people in between.
Awesome.
I think the next thing is, and this is just my personal opinion, always look to become more educated. Look to be a constant teacher and a constant student.
Absolutely.
So those are the three things that
Wonderful.
I would say.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh,
That's fantastic. We want to thank you so much for being on the show. It was a
Thank
pleasure speaking to you. I'm sure we'll have you back
To maybe put you through an exercise program.
to put Andy through an exercise program.
Yes, Andy. We'll have to invite you back in for a trio.
That's right. A little exercise for our executive director.
Don't be abusive. You only have 1 minute left or less. So.
Excellent. So we want to thank you again for being on the
Thank
show.
you, Mike.
If anybody wants to reach us, you could reach Kathy at the forum. You could reach me at the office, or you can look on Facebook, the Health and Wellness Show in Bayonne. Our phone number, if you want, is 201-858-0444. Kathy, what's your phone number?
It is 201-339-0050. We would love to have the opportunity to introduce you to healthy and fun lifestyle and bring you lots of joy and happiness.
So we want to thank everybody, and good night. Bye.